Doing some last adjustments here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm going to check my audio real quick. All right. Let's see what this sounds like. Sounds pretty good. All right, we're here. It is time. We're finally going to unbox Thunder's Edge. I'm really excited. I've been waiting for this to get here. It was supposed to get here on Friday, but like a lot of other people, it was delayed for me. And so I had to wait patiently until yesterday for it to arrive. And now it's here, and we're going to show it off. Oh! Look at that. Okay, so right off the bat, you'll notice not shrink wrapped. Packed really well with the nice air pack packaging. Keep it safe, but no shrink wrap. This is something I saw people complaining about. I don't think I necessarily have an issue with it. But this is the other big problem. So it's got these plastic like stickers that hold it together instead of being shrink wrapped. I do think it's a lot more eco-friendly, and I'm honestly fine with that. I'm probably keeping this box, so I'm a little sad that it won't be like perfect, but at the end of the day, I'm hoping to have this game for 20 years, so the box is going to get beat up either way. I'm going to open up the sides. Little crush right there, not too big a deal. All right. Awesome. All right, let's check out what we got here. Punch boards. I do want to make sure I have everything because they said they had issues and some people are missing stuff. So this is a unboxing for the excitement of it, and also just to make sure that I've got everything that it's supposed to come with. And luckily, the punch boards are numbered. So this is the A side of the first of 10. Look at the new planets, legendaries, very cool. The new faction tokens. This one A, B. Okay, this was a big worry for me. Some people posted that they were missing sheet 2. We have sheet 2 here with us, and every token is in there, so that's great. Sheet 3, looking good. And you're wondering, if you're wondering what these tokens are, these colored ones, it's actually for the new game mode Twilight's Fall, in which you can play with up to 8 players who take on the role of a different Mahakt, sorcerer, king, whatever they're called. And you kind of piecemeal together your Mahakt faction out of pieces of all the other factions. So it seems like a really interesting mode. I'm pretty excited to play that. And I probably should have counted the sheets. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the new tiles. These tiles are for the new mode, and this is 8, board 9, and board 10. So it looks like we have every token and every board. That's great. The rules. This is a really cool little story. I didn't know that there's actually like huge lore for Twilight. Like that makes sense because every faction has a whole story on their back, but I never really paid attention until recently when I joined the Twilight Imperium subreddit and I just saw a bunch of people talking about how the new lore has basically revealed the identity of some important characters. Twilight's Fall, rulebook for the new mode. These are all the different Mahakt people. This guy looks really cool. I do want to try that at some point. I don't feel like I've played the regular game enough. The new factions. I'll check them out real quick. I don't want to hurt the sheets. It's not a Ziploc bag like the other ones, but that's okay. We'll make do. So I've already actually played Thunder's Edge with a friend's copy, and we played with 4 out of the 5 new factions. Or at least we had the option for 4 of them. I don't remember if we played with them all. But Last Bastion, that was one that we played with. They're pretty cool. Deep Rot Scholarate, the person who played that got really, really close to winning. They feel like if you have a loose table, our table when we play with kind of the same group, very loose with deals. So there's a lot of like early game, there's a lot of, hey, let me do this and I'll get you this benefit, right? And the Deep Rot Scholarate relies on other players benefiting from you so that you can benefit basically from them. So it's a very friendly faction, especially at the start, because this gives you a lot more access to the tech trees, and you can get farther up the tech trees faster and cheaper, actually, because they have a cool mechanic where you basically give everyone deals. Crimson Rebellion, we did not play with them, but I'm really excited. I am currently in a draft for a BGG Con game that we're going to do. And this is the one that I picked because, of course, we put all of the new factions in there. And so when it came around to my time to draft, I went ahead and chose this one. I really like just the idea that no one can come to my home system. So that's really cool. Just kind of like Embers, the Muat, where your home system can't be touched. I just like the idea that I can't get, sneak attack from anywhere. And they seem like they're going to be not necessarily mean, but they seem pretty combat forward. So I'm excited to see how that works. The Ralnell, the Crested Gecko faction. I've only read a little bit about them, but it seems pretty cool. I like that you can give all of your units space cannon, or your destroyers at least. You can get the link ship too, not all of them. But your destroyers can activate the space cannon ability if you have a structure with space cannon in the system that's currently activated, which is pretty cool because if you have 5 or 6 destroyers and they're level 2 and you have a PDS in there, 1 PDS will let you take 7 space cannon shots. So if you have your PDS 2, link ship 2, then no one's going to want to touch your destroyers because you're going to get 7 shots before they can even try anything. So that seems like a pretty cool one. I'm excited for that one too. The Firmament. So this is another one that we did play with, and it was really cool to see. They feel like they have very, very little impact in the beginning, and then as soon as the player chose to actually flip and become, so it's a pair of faction sheets, but you play as the Firmament Obsidian, the first part of your game, you start as Firmament, and you are trying to build up your plots and basically not trick people is not the right way to say it, but you place their control tokens on the plot cards for these, and then when you decide to flip to the Obsidian, all tokens that are on the different plot cards will change the game in a really unique and sometimes painful way. So the Obsidian player actually won after a very slow start, but a lot of wheeling and dealing. They were able to get a bunch of tokens onto their cards, so when they flipped, the game swung way in their favor, and they ended up pulling out the win with a really cool fleet logistics move. Council Kelleres is how I learned that that's what it's actually called. This is the Codex faction you guys are probably aware of. They seem pretty cool. I haven't really read all about them because I didn't have any of the Codex stuff, and I wasn't planning on printing it myself. So it coming in here is a bonus, but it also means I don't really know a lot of what's going on here. I am excited to eventually try them though. That'll be really cool. And then this is just all the sheets for each of the Mohawks. If you do want to play that Twilight's Fall mode, it is really cool that they're not just different colors. They also have a slightly different aesthetic. So some of them look a little scarier than others. But that's really cool. And they also they all have their own unique stuff, as well as you're going to end up adapting them. So these papers just to fill space. I'm okay with that. Neutral units. If you guys have not read up on Thunder's Edge yet, it's introducing neutral units. There was some tiles in there. They're called the Fracture. It is some new systems, a new type of system, I guess, that is added to the game, where it is a outside area. It's this right here. It's an outside area that will start with legendary planets. These are all legendary planets. There's 3 of them. This is the biggest piece. This is the one that that is built in the middle when you build the board. But the cool thing with these guys is so there's a point in the game where you trigger the Fracture. Every time you gain breakthroughs, which is another new mechanic. And then these tokens are ingress tokens, and they'll get placed out on the board along with egress tokens that will be on these systems to basically open them up. And you can now... Oh, thanks for the comment. I'm really happy to be opening it too. But you'll use the tokens to enter these systems. Each hex is actually a space, so you do have to traverse nothing to get to these. But they're legendary planets. They have high resources. There's some other ones on the other little boards. There's 2 other system tiles. But this symbol here is new. And what this does is when you get control of the planet, it lets you draw a relic. Very cool. And the game we played last time, we had probably 7 relics out in the game, when normally it's a struggle to get 1 out. So it's really cool. You guys know relics are very powerful. They changed the game. And it just kind of made it so people were more willing to trade relic pieces because, well, I can't be the only one without a relic. So I'll give you this if you give me that. And we didn't just starve each other out of the relics, which I liked a lot and made the game a lot more active. This expansion as a whole, and I'll review it probably later, but this expansion as a whole makes the game a lot more active from round 1 because everyone is trying to get their... these are the other ones, by the way. So you'll come in through these and you can travel this way, or if you come in this way, you can travel to this one, or this is built in the middle of them. You can travel an extra space to come here. And what I was saying, these neutral units, they start... Let's see if I can flip this. I'll just pop this now. They start in the game. You place them based on the symbols here, and they have their own, I guess, combat reference sheet. They have abilities, and when you try to go there, they will attack you. So it's pretty cool. They also have these this new thing called, let me see this right here, the Galactic Events. Just gonna tear these up. So here's an addition, another addition actually, that we didn't do last time, but they also added a reference sheet for each faction, so that people don't necessarily have to ask, hey, how does your this work? How do you do this? What do you do this? You can just have your faction sheet, and if someone needs to ask you a question about your stuff, you can just pass it to them, and they'll read whatever they need to read about it. Which I think is good, because sometimes as a player it sucks to have to ask a question about someone's abilities, especially because you might have a plan that relies on knowing what a specific ability does. So you asking the question for that specific ability kind of gives them, the implication that, hey, you might have to be dealing with me soon. But this is pretty cool because it helps with just people knowing like the abilities on the table, everything that's active, and to kind of hide your own game plan when you need to clarify some stuff. Another thing right here, these are the, oh wow. Very cool. Okay, so Thunder's Edge reference, and this is the combat card for the neutral units. You can see they have the flagship, they have their own war sun, they have a bunch of stuff, and you might be like, well, the tile doesn't say to spawn all of that. That's true, but these events here, the galactic events, 20 cards that you essentially, you can shuffle, draw one, or maybe vote on one with your friends. I'm not sure. But at the beginning of the game, you'll take one of these, and if it has any setup stuff, then you'll set it up. Otherwise, they might be in play for the whole game. But they are going to change the game in really drastic ways. Some of them are set something up at the beginning, and then the card is gone. It doesn't matter anymore, like I said. And some of these are, for example, this is at the start of the game. Shuffle the alliance cards that correspond to the factions not in play and place them in the common area with the cards fronts face up. This is the mercenary deck. All players can perform the following actions. Spend 3 goods to gain the top card of the mercenary deck and place it in your play area. What's crazy cool is this means that you'll be able to use essentially the abilities of factions that are not even in the current game. Normally, the Alliance Promissory Note is what does that, and this is what you're going to be using here. You'll have a deck of all the other ones instead of having to wheel and deal them from the other players, so you can have access to their stuff. You can just pay for them. So this might be really cool. It feels like complexity 1. That's true. It's not that complicated. It is going to be a lot more to set up though, when we will need all of the alliance cards. So that's something to dig through the decks. Not a crazy big deal. I have all of my factions separated, so that'll help. But then also, it'll make use of this as well, because, oh, well, that faction's not in the game, so I can't really ask a player about it, but this is their card, and it'll tell you what the ability does. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, faction leader 2 can activate previously activated systems to move your tokens, just to help remind you what's going on, what you have access to. Pretty cool. And there's 20 of them. They all do different stuff. I'm really excited to add one of these. We didn't play it with our first game because we just wanted to get familiar with the breakthrough and just kind of the new format and the fracture, the new strategy cards. It was already a lot to deal with, so we didn't want to mess too much with it. But there's also, and this is pretty much it. I'm not going to go through all of these stacks of cards. I will just say, along with all the new content for the game and the expansion part of it, they also shipped the codex materials. That's why Council Kelleres is in here. That's originally a codex add-on. It was a print and play at first, but they decided to put all the codicy stuff in here, which is really cool. So we have the faction and officially printed cards to add to the game. So I didn't print any of the codicy stuff. I just happened to get lucky and realizing that it was going to come in here later. But all I have to do is add those cards, the new cards, into the decks that we're going to be playing with. Replace some of the cards that are fixed in this version of the game. And then there are a bunch of other cards in here that correspond to the new mode, the Twilight's Fall mode. And I'm pretty sure it's these big, pretty sure it's actually like all of those. And like this is the only correction. One of them, I'm pretty sure like a lot of these are for the new mode. But either way, I'm excited. I already got to play it, so I can't say I'm excited to play it for the first time, even though I was. I am excited. Whoops! I am excited to play it again, and I really appreciate if you guys took the time to watch this and just join in my excitement. Thank you very much, and I will try to do a review of the whole game at some point, or some kind of content, because I'm just really digging the game right now. Really enjoying it, but that's all I have for today. Thanks. Bye.